Hey there, this is Cortland from JigSkinz behind the camera here, and I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to make a twisty, or a twisted leader. So I'm out here in my lovely garage just after Christmas with all our crap and boxes here, but I'm going to get right to it. So the first thing we do is, this is some 80-pound Suffix just monofilament here that I've gotten from my local tackle shop. It's pretty inexpensive, maybe 10 cents a yard or something like that, so it's way less than fluorocarbon. And to measure it, I'm just going to pull 2 arm lengths of it off. I'm 6 feet tall, so that's about 12 feet of material there. Cut it. Keep a pair of scissors or something close by because you'll need them. Just take this and put it up here for now. So I've got a little cheap spinning reel here, and what I do is on one end of my leader, I just tie an overhand knot. The other end of my leader, I tie to the bail of the spinning reel. You can see some of my old taglines left here. This particular reel has about a 5-to-1 retrieve ratio. So to keep in mind, what we're doing is we're putting twists, obviously, with the twisty, we're putting twists into the leader. So the gear ratio is somewhat important. You're going to need less twists on heavy leader, more twists on light leader. I use all the way down to 10-pound test with the twisties. So this, again, we're using 80-pound. I've got a 5-to-1 retrieve, and I've got about 12 feet of line, and I want 3 twists per inch. So if you do some really fancy math, you want, I don't know, 5 or 6 turns of the handle for every foot of leader. So I just sort of round things off. 10 foot of leader, you're going to want somewhere around 50 or 60 turns of the handle for this. So what I do is I take the open end loop that I put on, and I put it over a knob on a cabinet. A lot of times I do these in the kitchen as well. And I stretch this 10 feet of line out, and then I just start turning. This is going to lock the twists into the line here. So again, about 50 or 60 turns of the handle. I don't know, 50-ish, 60. You're never going to get more twists in it, obviously, but when you tie a couple of knots in here, it has a tendency to let a couple slip through. So if anything, put a couple more in there. So I've got about 60 turns. Put 4 or 5 more in for good measure. Alright, so what I do is I just take the reel, and this is why I've got this really high-tech, nice piece of equipment here, and I just lay it on the ground. I go up to the loop that I have, and I never let any of this slip through your fingers. That's one reason I've got this loop. I can stick it on my finger here, and I take the line of the twisty and I put it over the knob. And now what I'm doing is I'm walking back towards the reel, and I'm making my leader half. I'm going to hold these very firm so that the twists up the line don't get away from me. I'm going to cut this from the reel, and I'm going to cut that end off, and my double loop here, for my double line, I'm going to make an overhand knot, and as soon as you tie this, you've locked all the twists into this, what should be about 5-foot section. This is probably the trickiest part of this. What I'm going to do, you can already see this starting to want to twist up on itself here. So what I do is I put a hand about halfway up the leader, and I slowly let this thing unwind on itself. Just sort of let it twisting. I'll pull this up so we can see it. It's just unwinding, and it's wrapping all those twists right into the leader. I'm still hooked around the knob over here, so when I'm done, when all the twists are done, I just take this loop off the knob. And I now have, get my scissors here, I now have a twisted leader. That's the loop, that's the halfway point that was on the knob, and those are my twists. You look at an inch worth of the leader, I've got 3 twists in there, so 3 twists per inch, and that's sort of the magic number. Any bigger loops and they'll open on you a little bit, any more and the whole leader will spiral up. You can kind of see how this thing is sort of limp. It's got a nice uniform shape to it. I do not like the high dollar Japanese mono, just personal preference. This is Suffix, inexpensive, but it has really good abrasion resistance. So we've basically just made a twisted leader. One end is an overhand knot, the other end is a loop that we're going to use for our loop-to-loop connection. I'm going to turn this off and we'll put our bite leader on here, tie something on it, and finalize this connection so you can see the whole thing in action.